Let me talk about the least talked about feature in the Dead Space franchise, the multiplayer component of Dead Space 2. I had honestly forgotten this mode existed for a long time and was genuinely shocked when I saw it was still operational, but I did decide to play it. It was almost instantly clear why it didn't catch on, and why it did so poorly on release. Most people point to the co-op in the third installment as really putting the final nail in the coffin. To start with, I want to discuss the balance between the two teams, humans and necromorphs. The humans possess a huge advantage over the much weaker, unarmed necromorphs. Humans possess the stasis, pulse rifle, and plasma cutter. The necromorph team has their appendages in whatever their species speciality is. There's also the problem with the computer-controlled necromorphs. They are the base necromorph model, which isn't playable for anyone but the computer, and the AI can't control any other necromorph type. This makes it stupidly easy for the human team to pick out who is who among the necromorph team, and know who to go after. And of course, as a necromorph, you possess such a low pool of health and do so little damage compared to the guns and the healing items the humans have, making the mode very heavily stacked in favor of the human team. Aside from the balance issues, there's also the problem of the leveling system. Leveling up and unlocking progress lacks any sense of accomplishment. Guns and new cosmetic armor are unlocked as your level increases, and while that is very common, it does not fit well in Dead Space, as the higher unlocks do just as much damage as the first level unlocks. Unless you are on the Necromorphs team, in which case your unlocks are more damage for your attacks, which actually does not fix the balance issue at all. In fact, it possibly makes it worse for new players as they face an uphill battle just to level up. The maps for the mode also face the same issues, with human players spawning and respawning in a closed off room while the necromorphs spawn out of a limited number of vents, allowing easy spawn camping and sometimes leading to immediate deaths of the necromorph players. The maps also all seem similar and are hard to distinguish from each other. It is very difficult to remember a map or a layout of a map, as they all feel the same, just with different textures and lighting. None of them impact the balance issue either, by layout or playstyle. I would also like to point out, when the game originally released, it had an online pass that if you bought the game secondhand, you had to pay an extra $10 for. At the time, so many people were buying games used, and still are, that the extra cost meant a lot of people didn't buy the pass, so they didn't play the multiplayer mode, so it didn't get any exposure. This mode is almost never talked about in any kind of detail when people discuss the game, and it seems like a very rushed and tacked on afterthought of a mode that not many players played or stuck around for. It only had one free map pack released, and I believe it only has one game mode, which, as I said earlier, suffers from severe balance issues and a general lack of fun. You can experience the entirety of what the mode has to offer in roughly 30 minutes, and most people seem to play it once and then never again. Another problem, which is a more personal grievance than truly a fault in play or program, is that there's no option to play as recognizable characters like Isaac, nor the ability to customize your character. Everyone looks the same, and armor cosmetics are purely cosmetic, with no variation and no change of function, so you cannot tell a distinct difference between a level 1 and the level 40. While not the worst multiplayer that has ever been tacked on to a single player game, it's still not a good multiplayer. It's skeletal, sparsely populated, and worst of all, it's a forgettable and boring experience in a franchise that has otherwise been full of impactful and exciting moments, places, and characters. By all means, this mode does not take anything away from Dead Space 2, but Dead Space 2, while still an amazing single-player experience, and my personal favorite one in the trilogy, it still remains a remnant of the era, with multiplayer games being forced into single-player games, whether it fit or not. And with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, give it a thumbs down. And if you would like more content like this in the future, let me know. Bye.